Hi, Trey. How you doing? All right. This is really good. This just shows me and just illustrates so much about what you've been learning. So this is fantastic. You're one of the reasons I love teaching typography classes and layout classes is because you literally I get to watch students become better designers right in front of my very eyes. And your work is certainly no exception here. I mean, you're a better designer than you were 6 short weeks ago. Clearly, clearly. So it's just so exciting to me. I love it. And plus, I'm hearing a lot of enthusiasm in your word. I think your confidence level is just really increased in the last few weeks too. So this is all really good stuff. So you're doing fantastic stuff. Okay, so I had some point selected a half page and a setup. Let me see something here. I'm gonna so 8.5 by 11. So yeah, all right. So just make sure. I mean, this could entail some reconfiguring because let me do something really quick because let me bring up my guides here. Yeah, each page is set up as 8.5 by 11. So don't forget my demonstration. So this is really important. Um, it's this is the 8.5 by 11. So you've designed this. You don't want to design this in spreads. Okay. You want to take the 8.5 by 11, fold it in half, turn it, and that's your page size. That page size is 5.5 by 8.5. So keep that in mind. It's really important. And again, for review, you can just go right over to the announcements area. Where is it? I have my announcements up right here. And how to set up your booklet is right in there. So be sure to review that. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. I was a little concerned at first because when I opened the work right in Safari right here, I'm sorry, in Chrome right here, it wasn't showing spreads and I was really confused. So I opened the PDF and here we are. Here are our spreads. So good stuff. All right. Everything is looking really good. I'll get into typography in a second, but one thing, let's start with the cover. All right. I think I just think that I think this is going to look so cool if you just bring the title, that whole title down, up, right about there. Maybe up a little bit. Watch. Hold on. Okay. So align it exactly where it's at, but right about there. I think that would be so cool because it's going to open up the visibility of that absolutely beautiful illustration. Okay, Aaron McBride, good job, good job. This is good stuff. One thing I would recommend here is let's start with a deck head. That's an introduction to the article. It would be larger type. It would span both columns and it would be minimal type, just like an introduction, like 4 or 5 lines. Then you would jump into your drop capsule. So do you see what I'm saying? That's a nice negative space there, right there too. So don't fill your deck head right there. Start your deck head here, and then start your article, which again I think is going to force some reconfiguration. Gutters are tiny. I would increase those gutters definitely. You got some nice space between your pages. So you got some good outer inner margin set up, but those gutters are really tight. I think too tight for comfort. I think they're almost stressful. I'll get into looking at individual micro typography in 1 second. But right now this is a concern. And in my first critique to Nicole, I had mentioned this, and I have a feeling I'm going to be mentioning this quite a bit in this first critique, is that these pages right here, you're just placing elements. You got to practice your typography. You're getting so good at it. Let's use this opportunity to fill these pages with type, infographics, anything that you design yourself, as opposed to consuming these pages with placed items. Placing items, I can teach my neighbor to do it in 5 seconds, right? So you're not showing your abilities of what you have learned in the last several weeks. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's what this is, a showcase of what you've learned. And quite frankly, if I were reviewing this piece, I would say, okay, I'm not seeing anything here. There's nothing telling me, showing me talent, showing me technique, showing me elements and principles. All I'm seeing is placement of images. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why I think it's really important to follow this. Where is it? this recommended setup right here, and this is in the week 6 project 3 part 1 planning and sketches page, and right down here these are the recommended page setup, and this is going to ensure that you don't just have pages that have placed graphics. Okay, so think about that. Let's go back to your layout, and then we come back here. We'll talk about this a little bit. Looks like you're adhering to your grid quite nicely, so that's good stuff. That's good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the typography. So we'll have to jump in here to do so. You're getting good, Trey. Definitely, definitely, definitely. Now listen, you've got a really nice way of you've done a really nice job of learning how to set justified paragraphs. But don't fall back on that, all right? You need to be a versatile designer, meaning that you need to be able to set your paragraphs, not only justified, which are showing good good proficiency therein, but don't forget, we want to practice setting up flush left right rag, because that's as tricky as well. So keep that in mind. Rags are no joke, man. Rags are difficult at times, and they don't behave as well at times. And to get rags looking good, it's tricky. So remember that. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. So good job on your old style figures. ILM right there, a perfect opportunity right there for, you guessed it, small caps. If your typeface has, if you're able to use old style figures, you're able to use small caps, because that means you have open type capabilities, which means you can go ahead and do it. For some reason, if you have a typeface that does not have open type capabilities, the next alternative, as covered in that video on setting old style figures and small caps, is to reduce the size so it's more in line with the X height of the typeface. Okay, so there are several areas I'm seeing that are applicable for small caps. I mean, I'm seeing a bunch. So, all right. So over here, drop cap. That's good. That's good. Okay. Okay. Looking good. This is the end of a paragraph, but it's not. You don't have a space between. And I think you're delineating paragraphs quite nicely, but you've got to get a space between. Okay. That one is not. So there's apparently that's a new paragraph, but there's no. It's not indicated typographically. So let's go ahead and do that. I think the space between is pretty good. You're set up very well there. Make sure that's set up in paragraph styles, by the way, as opposed to trying to do it manually. Definitely want to set that up in paragraph styles. Let's jump over to this page. One of the things here is that you've got this, drop cap's not working here. You're starting this page out with a question, so the drop cap isn't. What I would recommend here is, how do we want to do that? Well, what I would do is I would just set it up like this. That drop cap won't work with that two-line question, right? Because your drop cap in three, to stay consistent, your drop cap in 3 lines, but the question is only 2 lines, which means the drop cap falls into the 3rd line where the response lies. That should be a space there, as we can see a space between the question and the response here, right? Another thing I would recommend is increasing the space after the response and before the question. That's going to indicate to the viewer that this belongs with this and not this, right? Okay. I would increase the size of your italic, the questions a little bit, just to bring out a little bit of emphasis there in hierarchy. Now, don't forget, you're using a serif typeface, reversed type, with a very, very, very high contrast set of hues here. Yellow on black is super contrast. It's creating a little bit of visual vibration. I'm thinking that that's okay, but what I would recommend, as usual, whenever you reverse type, specifically using a serif typeface, you want to increase the tracking all the way around. Okay. This is odd right here. Yeah, this is set up. You got to have that space there. But this is a widow, and it's caused by a hyphen. So you want to work that out. No widows, right? I thought I saw there's another widow right there. Right there. So watch those. Watch those. Okay. Folios, page numbers typically fall on the outside. So you want to definitely adjust that. This is, I think it's an unusual place for a page number. Folio information is there. So go ahead and place your folios on the lower outside. Okay, and then of course I talked about this placement of pages. Now we get to the next typographic page, and I see this is pretty interesting stuff here. This page though kind of starts with your. There's no paragraph. It's not a continuation. It just starts there. So, and again, you've got another page of questions and responses that is 4 pages away from your original set of. So, wouldn't that be a continuation? So think about that. Now we're not threading text in this. It's outside the scope of the objectives and outcomes for this class. So theoretically, you'll have to thread that text. But being that that's not covered in this class, I recommend you design each page individually as in spreads instead of saying something like continued on page so and so, because that would entail threading that text for expeditious flow. Okay, other than that, I think you're looking pretty good, pretty darn good. All right. Okay, so those are my recommendations to start. So let's go ahead and take care of those. I would place that in title case. Definitely, and then we'll get that deck head in there. I think it'll be gorgeous. All right, great job, great start. Questions, comments, concerns, you know the drill, Trey. Let me know, and I'll be glad to clarify anything at all. So go ahead, and if you want to run something by me again before Sunday, that's beautiful. I'll be glad to comment. But yeah, so let's go ahead and try to employ those recommendations. And of course, any questions at all, it's really super important that you get with me quickly. All right, great start. Thanks, Trey.